This is Chris Bartlett from the Mandalorian, and this is the FSF Podcast.
The show that helps you hide the droids that they've been looking for.
Our show is brought to you by our charity sponsor, the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund, which supports the Wish Upon a Teen Foundation that helps out sick kids when they need it most. Just imagine the comfort you'll give Red Shirt Crewbot number 2BB4. It'll know that when it puts on the red shirt and joins C-3PO and R2-D2 in delivering a message to Obi-Wan, that he didn't leave its family destitute and without hope, because the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund has its back, and what's left of its restraining bolt.
And now, a word from our show sponsor, Level Up Savory. Their link can be found in the show notes.
Our guest today was the first actor to ever portray C-3PO on the Disney Channel. He's been a number of droids in shows like The Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian, as well as having served as a user experience director for video games such as the Gears of War, Tomb Raider, Call of Duty, and even Star Wars. So we're very excited and so very proud to welcome Chris Bartlett to the FSF Podcast. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I've really been looking forward to it.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, we when we started looking over your IMDb list, I was like, wait a minute. So he's C-3PO, and a lot of the stuff that I've seen C-3PO in, this is kind of cool. So yeah, I'm a massive Star Wars nerd. So for me, this is me trying to hold in my giggly voice. And,
just let it go.
It's going to happen at some point. But between that and then I see the Tusken Raider behind you, and I'm just like, hi. So anyway, yeah.
That would scare the crap out of me at night.
That's
though.
Better.
Can you imagine like getting up to like?
Yes.
Can you imagine like getting up in the middle of the night to like go use the bathroom though, and there's just a Tusken Raider standing in the corner? That would scare the crap out of me.
It'd only be better if it actually did the voice when it was like a motion sensor.
Oh.
Anyway, okay. That was a really bad impression.
Nightmare fuel, Tim.
All right. So, Chris, there's been several people who have voiced C-3PO in various forms of media. But as far as I can tell, and please feel free to correct me if I am wrong, other than Anthony Daniels, though, you are the only actor to physically portray C-3PO. So the question is, how did you get here? And like, how did you become the TV and live appearance C-3PO? Not to mention the 3PO that gets to meet the president in the first family.
Right. Well, just to correct you, there have been others.
Okay.
Grant Imahara, who passed last year, I believe, was also one who portrayed C-3PO.
Okay.
Just before I did. But anyway, how did I get to do that? Well, I spent 3 years building my own costume, and then I was called to do an audition by fan relations at Lucasfilm, and so they flew me out. I brought the costume, and we did an audition. And when you're building the costume, the whole dream is that wouldn't it be cool if someone at Lucasfilm saw this costume and thought that it was worthy in some way of being able to be used in an official capacity of some sort. But of course, that's never going to happen because I'm just Chris Bartlett in my garage at home, working on this at 2:00 in the morning. But ultimately, that I did get a call, and so I had been working on the voice for about 2.5 months, where I was working on it, listening to it to and from my during my commute, and just working on it. So I tried to get a good approximation, And so when they put on the costume and turned on the eyes, I just said, my goodness, why, hello. I am C-3PO, human cyborg relations. And this is my counterpart, R2-D2. And so they said, oh, great, you can do the voice too. They didn't ask me to do the voice. I just, we're just all having fun. We're building characters and trying to tell what for my audition. I was just trying to do a good job with the character, and so I was just bringing everything that I could. And so we got on a plane and flew to Australia, where I gave a presentation to a voice track of C-3PO, and I did all the body and the animation, and that was kind of the audition. And then I came back and I said, hey, this was amazing. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And, if you need me again, just give me a call. So then they just kept calling. And so,
oh, cool.
So one of the, literally, let's see, I guess that would have been 2009. So that was 3 years later was when I got the call to go to Washington, D.C. But in between there, I'm doing things like filming commercials and special appearances on television and stuff. So that was in a nutshell, that's how I got the job. Build a costume, prepared by learning the mannerisms and the voice, and then they called me and I was ready. So that was it.
That's super cool.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
You've had an opportunity to interview several different cosplayers over the years, and people who have built some significantly impressive gear. And as a matter of fact, our first interview was with a guy who built a Captain Rex uniform. And
wow.
It is entirely screen accurate, and it's amazing. And so all of a sudden I'm thinking, like him and a couple other guys that I know that do. And we also interviewed a guy who does Iron Man, and he built the whole Iron Man suit with the robotics and the lights and everything. And it's just it's very detailed, the way that some guys have gotten into this. And I'm like, how cool would it be for somebody like that, now that you've had this experience and this is how you got in, for somebody else to have that it's just it's a really cool story. But yeah, you're right. I think a lot of people think about that, how cool it'd be for somebody to notice my costume, the work I've done.
Right.
So.
And not only that, but then to it really would be enough for someone at Lucasfilm to say, oh, this looks really great, good job, that would have been great. But then to have it used in a way that was to work with them, not as a fan invite kind of situation, but as we are going to portray this character in an official manner, that was just a dream come true. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So and just to give you some context, I was 36 when I was cast, and I'd always wanted to do character work, but life happens, and I'm doing my own regular jobs. And then this happened, and I was just like, this is what I was made for. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I love cosplay. I love costumes. My mom is a seamstress, and anytime I'm like, hey, will you make this for me? She has, even though I'm 30, she'll still do that for me. And even more so now, hey, mom, my daughter wants this. Oh yeah, no, anything that my daughter says, my mom is like, oh yeah, got it, easily done. My mom made my wedding dress, and like every detail that I wanted, she did specifically, perfectly. My dress had pockets. Like, it was
that's important.
It really is. People really underestimate how important pockets are.
Well, I mean, I want to say, aren't we blessed to have parents who support our creativity in a way that like my parents, I was 7 years old and I wanted to be Luke Skywalker for Halloween, and they put together and sewed a costume that was pretty legitimate for that time. And I really felt like I look nothing like Mark Hamill, okay, but I really felt in that moment that I was indistinguishable from Luke Skywalker, you know.
Sure.
And so and can to this day, you know, they're still very supportive and very we're so, those of us who have parents that are supported that way is just really blessed.
It's the best. And I love to, like, with my mom, her love of sewing came from her mom. And to the point where my mom's going to a Renfest with us next month. And the last time we were at my mom's house, I turned and I'm like, something caught the side of my eye. And I'm like, are you making garb for the Renfest for yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I love that. I love that so much. Like, she's got her character idea down. She's got her outfit ready. I'm like, this is great. But talking about costumes, talking about droids specifically, I mean, that's a lot more structure than a typical costume. So what is the process like for getting into the suit to play a droid, whichever model it is that you're playing?
Well, for those who don't know, I'm known for playing the walking droids, not the rolling ones. And so to put them on, I mean, they're all variations of C-3PO basically, right? So I'm able to take what I've built and do a variety of characters. And but basically to put them all on, it's all this, it's pretty much the same. And so I have a really talented dresser. He's an expert in costume building and fabricating, and also he's a great friend. And so, anyway, to put it on, I mean, I don't know, how do you put it on? You do the shorts first, and then the legs, and then you know, one one leg at a time. You do it just like, I guess, anybody. But you know, you're sliding on these fiberglass pieces. And you screw them together or latch them together or whatever, and then comes the putting on the head. And the head is, you know, if you look at 3PO, I just happen to have one here. You know, you see the little black circles in the middle of his eyes. Can you see those there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
That's all you can see through. So when you put it on, you're basically putting a blank helmet on your head with just tiny pupils. And so that's really the least, I think, for anybody who's just going to start doing it, the least comfortable part of it, because you tend to you know, like when we watch Iron Man and we see Robert Downey Jr. in the helmet, you know, we see him like looking around and there's all these interfaces and everything. If you look, when you first put it on, you tend to like want to look around inside the helmet because it's not exactly right here, right? And that can tend to make you feel a little claustrophobic because you're bolted together, you can't take it off. And so what I've learned is you look through the eyes out to what's out in front of you. And you know what's out in front of you? There's smiling faces, there's amazing sets, there's spaceships and R2 units, and there's all such great stuff out there that that's what you focus on. The cameras are out there, the lights, your co-stars, everybody. And so anyway, that's what I've done, and that really helps. And then, you know, sometimes you're standing there for a long time. And so you either have an expert dresser who can pop the head for you whenever you need, or I've gone into this, you know, kind of Zen, you know, state where I can just close my eyes and nothing else is happening. I'm just relaxing. So that's part of the what goes into wearing the costume. It's not just putting it on. There's also the animation that goes into it, you know, like performing actually as a droid. And the endurance of it, and then also, you know, not only of the discomfort, but also, you know, not being able to sit down and that. So anyway, it's all, there's a lot more to it than slipping on a rope, kind of, you know.
Right.
But you know, you figure it out and you practice. It just takes practice, right? So I've been doing it for 16 years and I've gotten pretty good.
I don't think many people think about the fact that you can't sit down.
Yeah, never. You can't sit down. In order, you know, like C-3PO here, his and any droid here, the shorts go into the legs. So you're fused basically from the waist down to your knees, that you can't bend anywhere here.
Oh,
So, you know, I don't want you to take this like I'm complaining.
no,
Okay,
no.
I'm in Star Wars. I can't complain. Okay, I'm just
You're
describing for you.
C-3PO there.
I'm just describing for you the context of the costume.
Yeah, no, that's because I
Makes
feel like
sense.
that's stuff that people would fail to notice or not even think about. Of the no, you don't have C-3PO doesn't have hip joints. Like
Right.
there's no bending, there's no twisting there.
You
That-
have seen C-3PO in the film sit down. However, those scenes are all there are special things that have to happen. You don't see him sit up and sit down. Right.
Right.
He's sat down, and then they cut the shorts or the costume part so that it just fits on him so while he's sitting down. Right. That's
You've
it.
seen him worn as a backpack too, but we also know that that's not necessarily going to happen all the time.
I've never been a backpack. No. So, yeah.
I don't think it would be comfortable.
No.
So, Chris, you built a career as a user experience director in video games,
Right.
and it's probably exactly what it sounds like, but I was a little confused as to what exactly that is.
Yeah. Well, the experience of the game is what we're talking about. Like, what is it like? Is it fun? Is it easy to understand? Does it make you want to come back for more? Those kinds of things. That's what the experience is. And when you're playing, is it satisfying? Those kinds of things. So a smaller part of user experience is user interface. So they usually put those two together: user experience and user interface. It's UX UI they call it. So I started out as a graphic designer, and I was designing interfaces, like websites or interactive things or games, and the things that you design are like heads-up displays and targeting reticles and menus and character customization screens and stuff like that. That's user interface, and it's all part of the experience and how the game talks to the player, how the game communicates to the player. So as a UI artist, then I became a lead, and then I became a director of the entire experience. And so I basically make sure that the game is fun and that people don't rage quit. Yeah, that's a lot of work, because a lot of times designers are like, I've got, game designers, I've got 47 things I want to communicate to the player, and all of them are equally important. And I'm like, no, they're not. There are, you got to pick 3 of those, and then
Right.
and then you gotta trim down the rest of it. But my job is to try and simplify the experience for players so that it's fun and still challenging, but not painfully, challenging. Because you've got to if you've got a new game no one's ever played before, you want to try and get players to one consider playing the game, trying it, and then continue playing it, and then coming back for more, like I said. And those are a lot of hurdles to get through. And so anyway, I have some formulas I've developed over the years, and things that the way that I run a team, and usually look for just super talented people and let them do their work, and then I'm always hands-on as well. So
Nice.
That's the day job.
I know that I've definitely rage quit more than one video game.
Right? Yeah. See, there's, if you think of a bottle of ketchup, right? There's the bottle that you have to pour, and it sometimes takes a long time, and you have to hit it right at the right spot and everything. That is a poor user experience, right? Then you have the squeezable bottle, right? The squeezable bottle, it's immediate. You can feel it's coming out. You can feel when it stops. That's a good user experience. So that's just one example.
That totally makes sense though. And I'm thinking about the one most recently that I rage quit was actually the first part of Last of Us.
Okay.
I got so freaking frustrated with the bloaters.
Uh-huh.
The first time that you experience the bloater and you're not quite like you're strong enough to be able to do this, but
Mhm.
just barely. And I
Yeah.
got so mad, and I'm like, I'm done. I am putting this down.
Right.
I am walking away. And it was like 3 months later that I'm like, okay, I've got time again. I can figure this out. I can get through it.
Sure.
I missed that I needed that extra Molotov cocktail. I've got that now. I'm good. I got this. Not a
Good.
problem.
Right.
There
It
was a
also
bottle in a corner that I missed.
it also works with audiences. Audiences watch something because as a user, they are using the piece of entertainment that we've made. And so if the story is hard to follow, or it's slow, or it's poorly acted, those are, can lead someone to turn it off, right? Or if it's hard to find, or if
Yeah.
it's on a streaming service or whatever. So you want, the main thing is, you want people, whether they're players or audiences, you want them to feel something with what you've created for them. If you shoot a let's say you shoot an R2 unit in a game, and there's all kinds of sparks and everything, and his head pops off and flies off or whatever, like, that's satisfying. Maybe not to an R2 unit, but to to a player, that's really satisfying, and that's fun. And when you're watching a film and you see the pilot send the proton torpedoes down the exhaust port, and then it blows up, like, that's exciting, that's satisfying. And anyway, so it works also for audiences, and so I apply that to both audiences, basically, audiences and players in my work.
That's really
Awesome.
cool, though. Like, that is really cool to learn about and to see from the other side, I guess. Because I mean,
Yeah.
we're used to it from the consumer side, but to see it
Right.
from the
There
other
are
side of
people-
what you guys actually put into it.
Right. See, that people say, "Oh, you just play video games all day." No, somebody actually does have to make the games, right? And so that's what we're doing. But then also, you're in Star Wars. Yeah, but somebody also has to make the Star Wars, and so we do that by writing and excellent costumes, amazing effects, and music, and stories that and direction that are that create satisfying experiences for the audiences. And it's a big responsibility to tell new Star Wars stories that feel like Star Wars, and that you feel something like, oh, I hate that character, he's such a bad guy, or I love this character, he's such a hero. Yeah, I'm talking about C-3PO, obviously, but yeah. So
how could you not love C-3PO?
I
don't know. I guess if you're a scoundrel, maybe you wouldn't.
Well, that explains my love for Han Solo, but okay.
Right.
I mean, even in your love for Han Solo, you still look at C-3PO with the, oh, you're annoying, but I want to keep you.
Oh, I don't even think he's that annoying. I think he's funny, honestly. I've always thought that C-3PO's underlying complaints about things, and it's always amused me how things were too hot or they were too cold. I'm like, you're a droid, come on. Anyway,
well, he's so out of his element. That's the funny thing about C-3PO, is we've never really gotten to see him do his job until when he's in Return of the Jedi with the Ewoks, where he was translating for them and telling them the story, where there's no danger of him being shot or dismantled or disintegrated or melted down. He was doing his job. And then in Kenobi we did it again, where you saw, just for a moment, C-3PO was translating what the alien was saying to the human characters, and all the rest of the time he's fish out of water. He is not where he's supposed to be, and that's part of what makes it funny and adventure.
Absolutely.
It reminds me of my brother.
Is your brother a fussy British butler?
Not British, but very fussy.
Okay.
he is that, like, he would rather be at his desk doing his job and not actually having direct contact with people.
Yeah. Well, C-3PO, his primary programming is etiquette and protocol, and that involves people. So he does like being with people, just not like dangerous people.
Right?
Not the pew pew blaster people. So
right,
Yeah, right.
not flying around potentially dying.
Right,
Exactly.
exactly. Yes, and that's something that I love about learning new characters, and whether it's C-3PO, who is a totally different character than say Q-90, right? So
Mhm.
Q-90 very different from C-3PO, and it's really fun to try and to learn about these new characters and then trying to bring them to the screen in a way that makes you feel something.
I honestly
Understood.
had never even thought about the fact that the entire original trilogy of seeing C-3PO, he is so uncomfortable.
Yes.
I legitimately had not thought about the fact that no, he is not doing what he's programmed for.
Right. Imagine the thing that you love doing or that you're born to do, the thing you're most comfortable doing, and you never get to do that. Imagine how you would, and in fact, thrown into the most extreme opposites of those. That would be pretty challenging.
Putting
for-
an introvert on the main stage of a concert.
Right, exactly.
It's a
on
cool
short
perspective.
notice.
It
On
is.
short notice, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very cool perspective.
I'm gonna have to rewatch the original trilogy thinking about that now though. He's not annoying. He is so incredibly uncomfortable.
And so out of place, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
absolutely.
he's kind of like a goldfish. Like he keeps having his mind wiped, right? And R2 knows everything that's going on.
True.
R2 knows everything from the I guess it would be from the Republic to the Empire to the Clone Wars and also into the New Order. He knows all of it. So the thing about fear is what makes people afraid is that they don't know what's going on. They don't know what's in the dark closet, or they don't know what's what that noise was. And so R2 knows everything. He's seen everything. That's why he goes, when 3PO goes, what makes you think there are settlements over there? He's like, I've been here before.
Right.
And 3PO had his mind wiped. So he's always afraid. And that's part of what makes him a funny character.
Cool beans.
Yeah.
I have a whole new appreciation for C-3PO right now.
Absolutely.
Good.
And I loved him anyway. I've always loved C-3PO, but now it looks like it is very much I get you now. I understand this a little more.
Oh, see? Great.
It is kind of that, I feel like C-3PO in the original trilogy is kind of that, when they hand you your newborn in the hospital and you all of a sudden have that moment of
I don't know how to do this.
Wait, what?
I've never done this before. Right.
I do what now? You want me to have this? No,
Right.
That's not a good idea.
You're sending me home with this?
Right.
This is mine?
You know how few times I've done this before?
Oh.
Exactly.
I mean,
Right.
I knew getting into this that this is what was going to happen, but
Till it happens, it's
yeah. Walking out of the hospital with a newborn is terrifying.
Yes, it is. All right, so Chris, you work on a lot of things Star Wars related, and whenever we talk with somebody Star Wars related and are doing the things out in the Star Wars world, I always want to know what their entry was into the fandom. Now, you talked earlier about being 7 and being in that moment, absolutely, positively, Luke Skywalker. But what was your entry point into the fandom, that your earliest memory of Star Wars, and what got your attention and what keeps you wanting to come back?
Yeah, great question. I was 7 years old, and I'm dating myself, but I was 7 years old in 1977. And we went to the Christown Mall in Phoenix, Arizona, and we waited in line. My parents took us and to see Star Wars. It was just called Star Wars. That was it. And when watching the film, I was seeing stuff I'd never seen before. I wasn't like a sci-fi fan or anything. I mean, I was 7, but going to it and seeing, I don't know, I would just feel like I was the perfect age. I saw spaceships and robots and lightsabers and Sith Lords and Jawas and, moisture evaporators. Like it had everything, and also all the sound that went along with it and the music. So it just really ignited my imagination. I liked to draw as a kid, so I mean, I still do, but I was already drawing, and so anyway, seeing all this stuff on this big screen made me feel like, because I was used to things like Disney cartoons, you know, going to the movies to watch a Disney movie. That's kind of what I was used to, and so seeing this was just blew my mind. So that I thought that was it. I thought it was a one-time event that I will remember forever. So then there was figures that came out. So I like I'd save up my money for my paper route, and I would go buy buy figures, and then I would make up my own stories, you know, in the backyard of, you know, everybody had like Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, but you know, what about like R5D4 and the Death Star droid? You know, like what was their adventures? Well, you know, you kids at that age with no internet and 3 channels on television would just make up, you know, all this time to make up your own stories. And so it made Star Wars feel way bigger than just the film in my life. And I'm easily entertained by Star Wars. Okay, so I like, for all the things I named before, that's why I keep coming back, because I'd love to see, you know, everything new in this universe. So I'm not a hypercritical you know, movie watcher in Star Wars. So that's what keeps coming back. But you know, in Mandalorian, there's a lot of familiar looking things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I played a character called the Ferryman, who is a Kubaz species character who looks really similar to the spy in the streets of Mos Eisley that told the stormtroopers to go to Doctor B-94, like that guy.
Yeah,
right. So there's a lot of things in Mandalorian that look really familiar, so you feel comfortable, but they're new, and so you relate to them because you remember seeing something like this in the past. You know, Mandalorian, well, you've never seen him before, but you've seen Boba Fett, and he kind of looks like Boba Fett, you know, that kind of thing. And then you have all these new stories that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have put together that are that also feel familiar, but we've not seen these stories before. A lot of people haven't seen these stories, you know, whether they're similar or retellings or respun stories from old spaghetti westerns or samurai films, or, you know, they're like, and those stories are spun up from older stories. So you have these like really ancient stories that are being retold in a new way, and new characters, that you have the familiar and you have the old and you have the new, and it just feels really relatable. It feels really satisfying. And so that's why do I keep coming back? Because I'm just such a nerd. I really, really like robots, but I love the creatures too, and the ships and the sounds. But over the years, you know, when I turned 13 in Return of the Jedi, after Return of the Jedi, you know, you stop playing with the figures so much and you move on to other things, like became a musician and stuff. And then it wasn't until, I guess, 97 when the special editions came out again. By then I was 27, so literally, like, you know, 20 years later, and I just, all of it just flooded back, you know, just, I was so happy. And then it just kept going. So anyway, I guess that's what keeps coming back. That keeps me coming back. Same way in games, like when you're making a game, how do you keep someone playing it? Well, you keep giving them amazing content. You can't give them crummy content, because that's not going to guarantee they come back. You have to give them amazing content, and that's you know, stories, amazing stories, like in The Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi, things that we've never seen before but we wondered about. And so.
No, I love your answer. Honestly, I think I could listen to you talk about Star Wars all day, just because there's a happiness honestly, there's a happiness in your voice, and
Huh.
you can tell that there's such an attraction to it, and I feel very much the same way. So I was born in '76, so
Hmm.
my first movie experience
Hmm.
was for me, remembering anything Star Wars, was Empire Strikes Back, and going and seeing that in the theater, and just and very feeling very much the same way, just amazed by everything I saw, and
Right.
being so drawn into it. And to this day, that's still my all-time favorite movie. Nothing else
Uh,
will ever be better, in my opinion, than Empire Strikes Back.
right.
A lot of people tried, but they have failed. And but so yeah, I understand, and I identify with a lot of what you just said, and it's like, even when you're talking about the Mandalorian and Boba Fett, the simple fact that it's it's like old home week, right? You know, it's the, I haven't seen this, but I feel like I've seen this,
Yes.
and
Right.
it's very comforting and comfortable, and makes it that much more enjoyable to watch. So yeah,
Oh,
I
great.
get what you're saying.
And then they throw things like Grogu in there, and you're like, wait a minute.
Okay. So there's a reason Grogu is the star of the show, because I remember the first time I saw him was not on screen. It was when I was did my screen test for this guy, for Q-90.
Hmm.
So I went in, and they brought the costume, and I put on the costume, and I came around the corner, and I saw this green baby sitting on the counter. And I was like, wait, he looks familiar, but who is that? And you know, they're like, oh, you'll find out. And I read the script and like, oh, okay, he's what we're calling the asset.
Hmm.
And anyway, you know, George has said, and Dave Filoni has reiterated this: Star Wars is a morality tale for the rising generation, right? So it is, it those are who these are made for. The, like, people, you know, kids that are like 7 to 12 ish, you know. So I feel like they've done a good job in, now, that bringing stuff that adults will really appreciate, and you know, maybe a little darker, like in Kenobi and things like that. But that's really who these are made for. So that's why, you know, the Jawas in A New Hope, where we were like, oh, someone like my size, you know,
Hmm.
as a 7-year-old. And then there were Ewoks in Return of the Jedi, you know. By then I'm 12, and I'm like, what are these teddy bears, you know? But that they're not made for me; they were made for 7-year-olds, you know. If you ask my kids, who saw, their first experience was the prequels, Jar Jar Binks is their favorite character, and I'm like, wow, that's surprising. And I'm like, no, you know, it's not. It's surprising to me, but not to them, because he was made for them.
Hmm.
And Grogu, he's made for everybody, but
Is.
he was also, you know, that kind of, like, you have all these serious kind of heavy story points and character conflicts and stuff, but then you have this very special, magical little fun. Oh, sorry, Yoda was in Empire. He was the that served that purpose in that one too. You have these soft, vulnerable, and probably, you know, cute, you know, characters that really balance out the heavy stuff.
Hmm.
And so anyway, yeah,
See,
I love working with him. He's as real in person as he is on television.
that's
Just
awesome.
gonna,
That
yeah.
is the coolest. And I totally agree, because I mean, 1999 was when Phantom Menace came out, and
Mm-hmm.
I was 7.
See,
And
yeah,
I loved Jar Jar. I mean,
right.
he's, as an adult, I look at his character with the, you're annoying. But also the, no, you served a purpose. You were the comedic aspect. You were to get the kids into it. I totally get that.
Well, and it's to balance the story, really,
Mhm.
because you know, you have Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, who are on this really serious mission, and plus, you know, Qui-Gon gets killed, and you know, Darth Maul is so scary, you know, and so then you have to have something to balance. The Force is all about balance.
It's Star Wars. It's multi-generational. It's fantastic.
Yes, right.
Exactly.
And I'm so grateful that we still get to tell these stories and make up new characters. And so much fun.
And it's fun because there are some people who are like, "Ugh, more Star Wars stuff." I'm like, more Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
Give me more Star Wars stuff. Disney will keep
Yeah.
producing it. I will keep watching it.
Right. Yeah. Same here.
Oh, goodness. So not only have you been in Star Wars, but you've also been on the, let's call it the Star Trek side of things, having been in the Orville. Because
Right.
that is Star Trek. It is so Star Trek. Like, it might be more Star Trek than Star Trek is sometimes. But you
Well,
are a Kaylon
yeah.
in the Orville. And no spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen all of season 3 yet. Like
Mhm.
me, I haven't gotten there quite yet. I'm almost there.
Hmm.
But I understand that the Kaylon story arc in season 3 is pretty fantastic.
I still have to watch it. I haven't gotten there yet, but yeah, no, I'm really excited to see the Kalons come back. That came because Kalons are robots, and I have a particular set of skills, I guess.
When you
with-
learn to do the robot, you do the robot.
Nice.
right, exactly, right.
I
And
see,
can
I see
be-
what
I
you
can
did there.
be- right. That's another Star Wars reference with Liam Neeson. Anyway, yeah. So I was called in to be one of the Kalons, and you know, there's about 1.5 billion of them on their planet, I guess. I don't know, but while I was there, Mark Jackson, who plays Isaac on the show, super wonderful guy, and a really great performer. Isaac is very different from C-3PO. In fact, it was like, yeah, no C-3PO would be seen in this kind of performance. And so what we did while I was there is they asked me to be sort of the robot captain of the rest of the Kalons. So we were it was really cool looking. We were downtown in downtown Los Angeles, at the Die Hard building. The building, I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, we were filming in that building, and outside there's all these Kalons were like marching around in step and going around on the sidewalks and everything. And what we were trying to do is they wanted me to train them to walk in step, and so I would go, left, that kind of thing. And so the way that Mark had taught us how to move like Isaac. And so that was that, and it was a lot of fun. So I got to be one of the featured. They just brought me on because they knew of my work as
Right.
C-3PO. But it was just funny because it was another robot.
That
I
is
do other
super
things,
cool,
but yeah.
that is super cool. I was wondering and thinking about the difference between being on the Orville set and being on a Lucasfilm set. How is that vastly different? Was it?
I mean, the technology was different. The Orville was more traditional, on location and things like that. And while the Mandalorian sets, there are location sets, but sometimes you're in the volume, and so that was just a unique experience all on its own. I think going into the Orville, I think it was going to be a goofier set because it was Seth MacFarlane. I'm such a huge fan of his, but he's actually very serious about not only his role but also telling a good story, and that everything looking right, and so yeah, it wasn't. He's very serious. It was not like goof around time.
I find that fascinating
Cool.
because he seems like such a goofy person. But
Yeah, like how could you control all that goofy
Right.
edgy? He's he's a serious performer and writer and producer, and so he's when you have a job and you're serious about it, not a lot of time for goofing around, I guess.
right.
Excellent.
Oh, that's so cool. I would love to work with Seth MacFarlane. That would just be fun.
Yeah.
So we have a Facebook group, and it has over 200,000 members,
Wow.
and it is just memes of everything.
Uh-huh.
That's all it is. It's just memes all day long.
I
So
see.
let's say that you are a droid,
Yeah.
of which you're used to, and you have crash landed on a planet not in your droid's universe. What
Okay.
droid are you, And where did you crash?
Not in my universe.
Right.
Ooh, that's a big. Let's see. So, I have to be honest. I really like the bounty hunters. I've played two of them now. I play Q-90, and then I also play One Jack, who is I like to call him the son of Forlom for Empire. He appeared in Kenobi, and so I played both of them. I would love to see them in a buddy cop show, but anyway. But then
I would watch that.
Yeah, right. But anyway, I
So
love
Planet
the bounty
Earth,
hunters.
buddy cop. Got it.
The bounty hunters are fun in Star Wars because they have mysterious backstories. They could be any backstory. They don't. It's not like they're not all the same. And they're a little unpredictable. They have they're not really good guys or bad guys. It just depends on who paid them. But they also have the coolest equipment, like ammo belts and bandoliers and such great weapons and such cool. They always look a little more sinister than the typical protocol droids, right? Look at that face.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the bounty hunters. So I would say I'd be a bounty hunter. Where did I crash land? It would have to be a place with a lot of action. Those tend to be city planets, not like a Hoth situation. But one that's not in my universe. Bounty hunters could be from any. Forlom was originally on a cruise ship, and then he reprogrammed himself to be a thief. Not of their universe. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'd pick a city planet. We've seen Coruscant, but something with a nice dark underbelly. How about that? I'll say that.
Fair enough. We can go with that for sure. Okay. All right, so Chris, we're at a stage of our conversation where we like to take our guests through a little bit of a quiz.
Love it. Let's go.
All right. So this is a 4-question quiz. All the questions are multiple choice. Okay. Now, it's a 4 questions. If you get 3 of the questions correct, we want to send you the book that Kathleen's holding up, which is called Custodians of the Cosmos. It's written about a young man who joins something like Starfleet, but not Starfleet for, litigious reasons. And it is, when he washes out, he does rejoin, but as a custodian to boldly clean up after those who had boldly just went. Okay. All right.
There's also lots of things about cheese in it.
There's lots of cheese references, that's for sure.
Cheese.
All right. So
I love cheese.
And so if you get 3 questions, we'll send you the book. If you get 2 questions or less, we take a picture of you, we make a meme out of you, and we put you in that Facebook group that Nick was just referencing. We like to call it our fun sequence.
All right. Well, I'm kind of excited for the 2, but I will try for 3. But, the 2 sounds pretty funny. Okay.
Both options are pretty great.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Let's go.
All right.
Now, what if I get all 4?
We give you an extra thumbs up.
Oh, okay, great.
You get
Star Wars trivia questions.
The quiz is called "Everything That Glitters Is Probably C-3PO."
All right. Okay, here we go.
If you get all 4, we mocked him for making quizzes too easy again.
Okay, good.
Look, Sam Witwer has already destroyed any Star Wars quiz I already threw at his feet. So,
all right, this deal is getting better all the time.
All right.
Question 1. In the movies, C-3PO and Darth Vader share how many scenes? This is not counting when he is Anakin. Is it A, 4, B, 3, or C, 1?
I thought you were gonna say C3. Okay, wait. It's what are the choices again?
A4, B3, or C1.
Or 3 or 1. Okay. In all of the movies?
Yes.
Okay. Sharing with Darth Vader.
As Darth Vader, not as Anakin.
Right, not as Anakin. Okay. Movies, not TV shows.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So there's Cloud City. There's the wait. There's the carbonite freezing chamber. Wow. Is it one?
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Wow.
It's only when Han gets frozen at the carbonite freezing.
Right. And then there's that mysterious moment when Boba Fett goes to shoot Chewbacca, who's carrying C-3PO, and Vader lowers his weapon. What does that mean? Right.
That he remembers C-3PO.
Maybe.
C-3PO might not remember anything, but
But Anakin was sneaking through.
Right.
Question number 2.
Okay.
What sci-fi movie influenced C-3PO's design?
Oh, that's easy. It's Dumb and Dumber. Sorry, you said it's multiple choice.
Oh, I could totally see that. I want a Dumb and Dumber movie with C-3PO and R2-D2 now.
Right.
Oh,
Don't
my
tell
God.
Daniels I said that. Okay. What's the choice?
I
I already know what it is, but just go ahead.
A, Flash Gordon. B, Metropolis. Or C, The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Metropolis.
That is
After-
correct.
Yeah, there's
Very good.
parts of his costume that are if you look at them side by side, it's almost identical.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
the arms,
It's-
the little halo around the head and everything.
Yeah, things are very
Interesting.
close.
Yep.
It-
All right,
what-
that's 2.
That is 2.
2 for
Okay.
2.
In number 3, in what movie do 3PO's eyes turn Sith red? Was it Rise of Skywalker, Empire Strikes Back, or Revenge of the Sith?
Rise of Skywalker.
That's
3.
Because that's the last film that we've seen him in, and it was the one where he says, "I want to take one last look at my friends."
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the book. You won the book.
Okay.
All right. And now to shame Tim's quiz.
Mm-hmm.
Question number 4. In what
Mhm.
movie was C-3PO given away as a gift? A,
Gift. What gift?
Phantom Menace. B, The Last Jedi. Or C, Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi.
That is correct.
Right.
Tim, you really need to make harder quizzes for these Star Wars people.
He was so shocked that he would
I
be
know.
given away as a gift. What are you talking about? And also, why is R2 making this announcement? I mean, it was a hilarious moment. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
That is
So
all 4.
I get a thumbs up, right? Okay. All right.
And a
I
book.
have a-
We'll send you a
I have
book.
a feeling that screenshot is going to go many, many places when my husband edits this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Well, great. That was fun.
Thank you so much. Good job.
Thank you. I've studied.
More
Extensively.
than Tim.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for being on the show today. Where can our listeners go to find out more about you and your upcoming works?
Instagram is the place that I don't have time to do everything. So Instagram is the place where I go. So just go to Chris F. Bartlett on Instagram. And it's all basically Star Wars stuff or Star Wars art because I'm an artist as well, and it's mostly that and acting stuff. Some acting stuff's on there too. But I love robots. I love here's the other thing. I've got some conventions coming up, and so I'll post on there where I'm going.
Yeah.
And what I love most about the conventions is as a costumer, I love it when Star Wars fans come over in costume. And what we do is I want to see your character because I can see your costume, but I want to see your character come through the costume, right? Because anyone can just be a stormtrooper walking around just like as a regular human. But if those stormtroopers are like scanning, menacingly or staring at you or lean in and go, "Let me see your identification," something like that. I love that. And so what I do is I like to collect characters at conventions. And what I'll do is do little videos, and then I stitch them all together real fast, and you get to see yourself as a character, because when you're in the costume, it's hard to really get an idea of how you look as a character. So anyway, I put those together and post them on my Instagram. If you go check there and you see yourself there, comment, and then I can tag you in it. But I just love collecting characters, and I love talking to people about bringing out their character through their costume.
Well, we are definitely going to make sure that we link your Instagram so that our viewers and our listeners can find you.
All right, guys. We want to remind you that subscribing is the single most important thing that you can do to help us to continue to grow and to get amazing guests like Chris Bartlett here today to hear these amazing stories and fun moments for you to be able to listen to. So please subscribe and go check out Chris on his socials. You clearly will not be disappointed by the content you find there. And if you do meet up with him at a Comic-Con or some other event like that, please wear your cosplay and go say hello. But for whatever reason, if you are not happy with the content of our show today, please feel free to complain to the head of our complaint department. That, of course, is Q-90, or Zero as he's known to his bounty hunting buddies. Zero is, of course, a protocol droid who worked as a mercenary during the time of the New Republic. Ruthless, precise, and efficient are words that you could use to describe Zero. And being so, just one properly filled out copy of the complaint form will do. It's really all he's going to need. And he will find his target and wipe them out. Unless, of course, they're a child and under the protection of a Mandalorian named Din Djarin. But he doesn't really like to talk about that too much. Seriously, don't bring it up. It won't end well for you. Not unless you also want some blaster holes.
Well, thanks again, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. This has been a lot of fun.
It's been my pleasure to be with you guys. Thank you so much for asking me.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that's going to conclude us for the FSF Popcast. Goodbye.
Bye.
Ciao.
On behalf of the rest of the hosts of the FSF Popcast, we want to thank you for listening to this episode. If you'd like to be a guest on a future episode, please contact us by means of Twitter or Instagram using the handle @FSFPopcast, or go to www.fsfpopcast.com and click on the Contact Me link. Thanks again, and hope you enjoyed the episode.